Welcome to the back nine of Dino Hills Disc Golf Farm in Glen Rose, Texas. If you haven't watched the front nine, go and check that out and come on back. Starting off the back nine, hole 10 is the only par 5 on the property. 631 feet, which you may notice isn't the longest hole out here, but as we work our way down the fairway, I think you'll see why it's so challenging.
Andy shot there, not to pick on him, because I end up doing the same pretty much almost every time. This was one offshoot of, I think, decent shot there, but
yes, I was really
do not want to be anywhere near the right side, because that is complete pinch off, and you'll just have to pretty much lay up to the center. You want to play center down all the way to that tunnel.
And I throw a turnover all the way around this island in front of us to give myself a better look at the pin and open the angle up. Still didn't work. I think straight is the only way to go.
It's almost best to even kind of just chunk a mid-range or fairway as hard as you, or mid-range as hard as you can, straight down there, and just have a good approach for your second shot. This really kind of comes down to maybe one really good drive, and the rest is just placement
yeah.
shots. Everything is just placement.
This hole is like straightforwardly difficult. The biggest tip I could say is on your approach shot, if you don't make the corner, it's like a false summit when you're hiking a mountain. Like, it looks like the corner is here, but it turns like 45 degrees for a little bit before it turns the rest of the corner. So a lot of times when I'm trying to run the corner to get to here, where we're looking at now, I end up cutting it early and costing myself another stroke to get to here. And there's two channels at the basket. We're looking at the straight shot. There's two little fairways, but it gives you some choices to make. Despite what the card down below says, hole 11 here, uphill. Got a little bit of shrubbery protecting the green. 410 feet uphill. This is a rip. If you have a putt, it feels like you had a great drive, which, to put it there, you really have.
There is just one tree that I guess you could say guards the basket, but it's still very open.
Unless you yank it like that.
Everything here, it's just every hole on this property is just beautiful. It always has a good view. You're just always looking at something great.
Yeah, my yank ended up making it pin high, but still a full mid-range shot to put it on the basket. This is is this the last elevated? I believe this is the last elevated basket for the round.
I guess if you could be on the hanging basket.
Yeah, I would say that's another unique basket, but it's not. I think that one's even lower than the normal ones.
Yes.
Yeah. That's hole 16 we're talking about. We'll get there in a minute. We'll wrap up the rest of our drives here.
Now this is a welcomed hole after playing hole 10, where it really feels just kind of like you're getting beat down.
Hole 10 kicks my teeth in every time. It's a par 5, and I've walked away pretty grateful for a 6 most of the times we've played out here.
Now this is hole 12. This is the first of the 3 water holes out here, and I go with the mid-range Bobcat there.
Just a nice layup to the water.
And just gets the water's edge, and you want to play it as close as you can, because you're then going to have another mid-range shot across the water.
And right now you can see the pond. It is super, super full. Just a short, 2 or 3 weeks before this video was taken in early May, you couldn't see the pond. So some people definitely fell for that trap. For opening weekend and the weekend following when there was a B tier out here. But yeah, mid-range layup as close as possible. I accidentally threw this way too flat and not wide enough. I thought I lost it. It took me about 30 to 45 seconds to find it. I was about a disc's width away from the water, so that was way too close for me.
And it is a steep downhill to the water, so if you do crest that edge, it is just a good roll away.
Yeah, basically those little trees that are just dead straight towards the basket, but short of the water, those are your markers that you want to lay up to. And if you go too far to the right, you're going to have to lay up again because it's just going to pinch your angle off to the water. And if you go too far to the left, actually the pathway that you walk through to the basket could be your only option, but it's probably a couple of jump putts. You're definitely going to go bogey if you go too far to the right or too far to the left.
Now, hole 12 here also is looking back on the front 9. So this is the furthest hole out looking back on the property. So this is a pretty good view. I mean, everything's a good view here. But this is the pond itself. Again,
and that's my disc. Okay, so it was a little further away from the water than I remembered, but
I mean, that's an ideal landing spot, and that's a perfect scenario of not going in.
You can see just how small this green is, and if the pond was any higher, it would be wrapping around the green, and water would be flowing behind it. So really treacherous. It got in my head for sure, and I turned it over. I took a 4. And yeah, so this is a great look at the green. You can see where they're standing over there would be underwater if the pond was any higher, and there would be moving water behind the basket. Hole 13, the first full water carry. It's only 245 feet, par 3. You can pretty much run straight at it. When the pond is full like this, though, that oak tree will drop you right in the water. But it's a small pond. If you get nervous, you can either throw a turnover shot and dump it over the tree line on the right and end up safe, or you can just run it like Justin does and go a little long, but you got a chance to throw in an ace every time.
And this hole has been aced already. I can't remember the guy's name, but it has been done.
And so I just throw a boss because no matter how hard I throw it, no matter what the wind is going to do, and it's going to dump right. And I got super lucky. I hit that oak tree that I was talking about, and I landed in the root structure of the trunk. I had to practice my rock climbing skills to not get wet and get my disc and legally play my lie.
Now, almost all of us, everyone but Andy made it over on this round. Is that right?
Yeah, I think Andy undercommitted on a prime escape, and then Clint here. Man, shout out to Clint. This is his second round of disc golf ever.
And committed to throwing over this water and stayed safe.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. It could have been like a DX Leopard for all I know, but that thing just annied into the open field, and he got a nice 3.
Now, this is the hole that I feel will take most of us.
What a golf shot.
Just because it looks straightforward, but if you even get nabbed up in any of that vegetation, you are hyzering straight into the middle of the pond.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, Justin.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Oh, wait. No, that was the time before this that he played here. He did that. Never mind. Andy made it across safe. Did trickle back OB, but he established himself on the peninsula. But yeah, this one's really hard because it's not like the previous one where there's airspace off the tee to kind of manufacture a dump shot. You have to play aggressive on this one. Unless you're playing for like a 7 and you're putting all the way around the pond, you have to go for it. There's not really a layup option.
Unless you're left-handed and you just throw a hyzer.
Yeah, if you don't throw it too high, I can get something to work dry and right, and then hopefully get a 3 because it takes birdie out of play if you play it safe on this hole.
Nice shot it is. Come on back left.
Now, I said Andy was the only one to go in on the last hole. Now, since this round, every time I play this, I have dumped it in the water. So,
yeah, it's easy to do, especially you said the gap is smaller now, right?
Yeah, with all last time I actually hit the tree just straight on and dropped straight in the water and just lost.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting lots and lots of rain in North Texas right now, and so these trees are loving it, and these gaps are getting smaller.
So I'm just glad I got on film my one good shot over that hole.
Yeah, that was ideal.
It's been all just horrible.
Yeah, that was a nice shot. You played low on the green and skipped up to the basket.
And shout out to Clint as well on this one because, again, first time still committed to throwing his disc and losing it out there. That's commitment on the second round ever.
Welcome to the club. So, hole 15, no water on this one unless you just yank it way to the right. 285 feet downhill. This is a fun little hole, man. Like I keep trying to put a mid-range down there nice and gentle. Haven't quite done it yet, but I think that's the play.
It beckons for it, but it's just the gap looks so big, but with the winds out here, it just is not as easy as you think it is. As you'll see as Jesse comes up on his throw, it just gets taken away by the wind.
Mm-hmm. And Walker turning it over just a little bit, catching too much speed with that nose down throw, anting into that big bush. I correct from his mistake, but yeah, it's not ideal. But I've seen this guy with his that crazy standhill forehand that he does. He's going backhand now, but I've seen him almost park this hole with his forehand. But you'll see, this is what I was talking about. You don't want to just yank it over to the right. I think we had a left to right wind here because a couple of throws hit this throw right here is the only throw I've seen do this. It did stay dry, but we were all begging for it not to find the pond or that muddy pathway,
which was just about a shoe's depth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Clint's getting tired. This is a long course to play for your second round ever. He's toughing it out. Yes, you can see lots and lots of guardian trees on this green.
I love this green. I mean, I say it about almost every hole, but I really do just because it is so technical all the way through. Because even once you get your approach shot down in there, you're still throwing a challenging putt.
Hole 16, 201 feet, par 3. This one is screaming ace, or at least park it in the circle. I've yet to do it.
Hanging basket.
Yeah, there's a hanging basket. Couple of gaps here. I managed to miss every single one of them. But whether you're throwing backhand, forehand, righty or lefty, there's a couple of nice hyzer lines that both work back to the basket nicely. You got to hit the gap. There's a couple of guardian trees, and it's a cool little hanging basket underneath this big oak tree. It's a fun little hole before you get to 17 and 18.
Which I've been saying it a lot in this, but 17 is by far my favorite just because of the shot you have to throw. Or you can throw.
Yeah, so there's the hanging basket. It's a little lower than most of the other ones. This tree almost is not quite a C shape, but yeah, it wraps the green nicely. Hole 17, 278 feet downhill. I'm throwing a Color Glow Thunderbird. I'm basically trying to crash the berm just below the basket. I'm not trying to fly the green. I don't want to come back putt. I'm throwing it at that bush that I go through.
No lie. And I go for a super understable with the sole and get it on a hyzer flip and just try to do the same. I was going for a little further, but this works out really well and curves right in.
Yeah, it just plays right to that backstop beneath the green. That water there, I believe, is always casual, so you can have a little uphill putt at the basket. But yeah, you've had some awesome throws with the sole on this. I watched him. If the basket was 10 feet tall, he would have aced it, and that thing just held Annie all the way over, and he had a long comeback putt. So that's a nice adjustment, I think, to kind of play just short of the pin and not do that. That was going to work back to the basket nicely. It just,
as much as the forehand looks like a good play here, unless you can keep that forehand straight, you're very much capable of dumping into a creek right on the right. And it's at this point it's kind of dry, but there's no shot from there. You're pitching out and taking your medicine.
Yeah, you want to stay on the road or left, but really like as straight as possible. I think if I would have missed that bush that I threw it into, I would have been right where I wanted to be. But that bush ate a lot of my power, and it stayed, right next to it. If you can miss that bush and land in that casual water, it'll give you a really, really short birdie putt.
Oh, nice.
And that's where Keenan's upshot landed. I believe that was for 3. I don't.
Saved us 3.
Yeah, he
It's a
saved us
beautiful
3.
putt too. As I missed mine and rolled down into the creek, and if I get lucky, I make this putt. For some reason, I am not.
And you can see how close the edge is to that basket. It can happen so quickly if you draw metal and redirect off the basket. It can happen so quickly.
Oh yeah, and this is probably a cooler hole, one of the cooler holes here, but also very, very challenging. I guess.
Yeah, there's a unique tunnel shot on this hole. It
is even tougher now with all the leaves.
Mm-hmm. This hole, I mean, it's a cool hole 18. You've walked this awesome property, and you're left with this tunnel shot that there's about. I mean, I believe this is almost entirely why you sign a waiver to play here, because there is a 15 to 20 foot cliff,
if not
less than 2 steps off of the front of this tee pad. So there's lots of variables going through your mind. The basket is almost dead straight, but you're not trying to reach it. You're trying to shoot underneath this tunnel and land on the field in front of you, because after you cross this creek bed, you don't want to fall into it. It's a certain level, and then it climbs up. The road climbs up through this tree tunnel out into that the field that you're trying to land into. If you can push through the tunnel across the field and flirt with that tree line, that's the ideal shot. Not that.
Back, it was like the last 6 holes, and all of a sudden everything was getting.
Yeah, this is
too loose.
just a tough tee. Now, I guess if you did have the power, you could maybe try to go over the trees, but that would be
220.
a little more precision than I have.
Yeah, that'd be a big shot for sure, and you sacrifice a lot of distance, but that would get you out of having to run across the tree tunnel. So yeah, looking back at it now, that gives us a good idea of that cliff that we're throwing off of.
There it is. That looked pretty. Yeah.
And just how elevated it is. Lots of cool elevation to play with in Glen Rose. You know, we're on the edge of the hill country.
Not to mention there are fossils everywhere out here if you're a rock hound by any means.
Mm-hmm. So this is my second shot. I'm at that tree line that ideally I'd like to be at off the tee. And it's a little bit of poke and pray. You know, there's a fair amount of gaps you can hit. And then there's a second clearing leading up to the basket. Also, it's worth noting, there is a sweet putt-putt par 2 full 18 course here. It's included in your $12 to play, so it makes for a really great warm-up session. You can just bring like a putter and a putt and approach disc, and you'll be able to tackle all the holes. It makes a great warm-up. We're right next to it on hole 18 here. I'll probably have to do a walkthrough video of that as well, just because it's too much fun. But as we all putt out here, thanks for watching the back nine at Dino Hills Disc Golf Farm. For Justin, I'm Josh Davis of Davies Disc Locker. Thanks for watching. I'm enjoying the little time lapse driving out through the putt-putt course. You watch that in slow-mo, get your sneak peek for now.